Welcome to Montessori in the Sun City, brought to you by Escuela Montessori and Coronado Montessori, who have been serving El Paso's community since 1974. Whether you're a seasoned expert or just starting to explore the world of Montessori, we're here to provide insightful conversations, valuable information, and a fresh perspective. And now, on to the episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Montessori in the Sun City. I'm so thankful that you're joining us for episode 2. So today we are actually recording in my hometown of San Antonio, Texas. We're in this sweet little Airbnb, and we will actually be here until Monday. Yesterday dinner, it was pretty special. We had Bill Miller's barbecue, which is one of my favorites, complete with a gallon of tea. And later today, after this taping, I am actually going to be heading over to E02, which is a must for me. Those of you that know me back in El Paso, I am big on supporting local, and E02 is a grocery store that here in town has local roots. It's not just a grocery store to me, it is a destination, let me tell you. And I promise E02 is not giving us any money or anything. It's just something near and dear to my heart. So out of a little bit of background, over the last 3 years, Steve and I have been traveling to Dallas for a medical procedure for Steve. He does have multiple sclerosis, and so he gets seen at the VA hospital. What we've learned is we will go up there and see one of our sons, Blake, and we will visit with him, get his infusion done, and then we will head back down to San Antonio, see our other son and our sweet daughter-in-law, spend a little bit of time with them, and then we will make our trek back to West Texas, the sweet town of El Paso. This time it is a little bit special for us because our youngest, John, who is over in San Angelo in the United States Air Force Tech School, will be coming in tonight, and Blake has come down from Dallas, so we actually get to have 3 of our boys here in town. It is not only Valentine's Day, but yesterday was my birthday. So my mommy heart is very full because I get to have 3 of our 5 boys here with us in town. So we are in that phase of getting to know each other. And so we thought it would be kind of fun for Steve and I to do a question and answer. We mentioned last time that we actually have 5 sons, and we thought over the next several podcasts, what we would like to do is somehow get all of them 5 at some point or another, in some way or another, into our podcast. They have all not only gone to our schools, but they have been pretty much involved in the ins and outs of what a family business looks like, how it runs. This goes from painting shelves to moving furniture,
Picking apples.
cleaning the backyard, the barnyard, and inside joke, picking some apples. That's kind of a funny inside joke about that. But they've done much, much more. And it's been pretty special to have them just see the background that goes into putting on or having a family business. What we thought would be fun is today's guest interviewer is Blake. He is our second oldest son. He actually currently resides in Dallas, Texas, and works at Restoration Hardware as their residential trade leader. He's also the one that I admit, when this mom is having some technical difficulties and I can't figure out something on social media or Canva, or just trying to get something out that a big business will do, he is the one that I reach out to when those panic calls are coming in. He is ever so patient with me, and a lot of times we'll just get it done. And I really appreciate that. So welcome, Blake. Dad and I are happy to have you here with us.
Hi. I thought it would be easy because it's like working and a Zoom, and I'm comfortable with that. But actually, this feels more like our family FaceTime. So this is
Well, at that point, wait for some brothers to jump in, then it'll really feel like a family FaceTime. How fun. It is kind of fun, isn't it? We talked a lot about that on our first episode, how this really was something that I felt very led to do. And it's kind of a dream come true for me. So I'm loving it. Dad's just, along for the ride and giving me encouragement and having to jump in as my partner in crime sometimes.
Well, fun. Okay. Well, did you want me to jump into questions for you guys? Because I have a few,
Yeah.
or we can dive into a little bit else. But I think kind of listening, I obviously listened to the first episode, and it was kind of fun just to hear you guys talk about not only the schools, but just kind of where you guys kind of, what you have done in these last almost 20 years, which is really exciting. So I think going back to that, thinking about 20 years ago, I think the one question you guys get asked the most is like, how did you meet? And obviously I know, and it's a fun story, but I think it's an entertaining answer, but I think something that people would find very interesting as we enter this kind of age of technology. You guys kind of pioneered that. So I think like I think I'd love for everyone to kind of know too, like, how did you guys meet?
So we now mind you, this was almost 20 years ago.
Back in the day.
Back in the day, we met on eHarmony. And it was
It was a very new platform at the time. I mean, all the online dating hadn't really taken off yet. It was just in the infancy, and obviously we were both single parents with kids, and how do you meet a significant other when you have uh, family responsibility, children and all that sort of thing. So I think we both decided to roll our dice on eHarmony.
and we picked eHarmony because it was at the time, it was just starting, like Dad said, it was Christian based. That was very important to us. But there was a lot of science behind it. It wasn't just swiping left or swiping right. It was really, you spent about an hour or so filling out this questionnaire about what your likes were, what your likes weren't. It even did that one.
Can't stands, must
Okay,
have.
yeah, just now I guess they call that red flags, green flags. And so now we kind of did that, and that was nice because it also, eHarmony at the time, and I'm not sure if they do this anymore, they then would match you and you could pick, okay, do I want anybody in the United States? Do I want someone just in Texas? I wanted someone just in Texas. And it kind of matches you. And then you can still go from there and start the communication. But the first portion is through the website. So it wasn't through the app. So it wasn't like, oh, you hook up and then Dad gets my number and I get hit. It wasn't like that at all. You had to go through several steps. And the first step was you answered questions. You could ask each other questions, but it was all through the website. It was questions that were asked specifically. You could also show your picture, not show your picture. I did not show my picture, not because I think I'm all that. I just really, I'm kind of quirky. And I really wanted someone to know me and know my heart. And I had a child, I had Blake. And so I wanted to do a little bit of protecting. Like I really wanted to make sure that my face or Blake's face just wasn't out there. Steve's was not. His was of him and John, our baby, the baby. The baby. And I think, no, he didn't have that. Did he have the shirt on it that said, "Chicks love me"? Chick magnet. John was 82 at the time. Well, three. Well, yeah, but when the picture, I think it said Chick magnet. I still have that shirt actually in one of our storage units. But it was, so we were matched, and it was very different. Our parents thought we were crazy. When
both of them,
both of them,
or both sets of parents were like, oh my gosh, it's just some guy in the basement that's trying to, and ironically, Jackie did live in the basement
at Papa's house
at the time.
It was on the lake, and
a multi-level house.
It was something that I still to this day will say that it was a God thing, because it was when we did get matched, it was in April of 2005. And then when we did decide to meet in person, because we felt like, okay, this was going somewhere. Then Dad had actually already had Sean, your brother, our oldest, actually had a state soccer championship.
Yep.
What was it, 5 or 10 minutes from our house, which it wasn't like in San Antonio, we were just downtown. Like we lived out by Canyon Lake. So this soccer tournament would have had to been 30 minutes outside of San Antonio. So it wasn't like just, oh, we're all going to be in San Antonio. No, this was specifically like out of nowhere. And so when he told me where the soccer tournament was going to be, I was like, well, that's
Just down the street.
kind of interesting. So they came in. Cliff notes are I met Grammy the first weekend we met, which was kind of interesting that I met my mother-in-law. Your brothers stayed, the three of them stayed the night at our house with Nan and Papa. Y'all didn't really know. Dad and I tried to keep it really on the down low that it was just a friend. We didn't want y'all to worry about any of that if it didn't go the way we were thinking. We had dinner at Saltgrass. There's an infamous crouton story that is a family joke. And the rest is history. We thought, you know what, this is as good as we felt like it was online. Even more, I think, in person. And the rest is history. Almost 20 years later, this April,
Yep.
that we've been together.
So we barely saw each other in person actually until we got married. It was maybe once a month.
Yeah.
So it was a true long distance relationship.
Which looking back now, I'm so glad we did that, especially because working in a family business, communication and having 5, kids, me going from, not including Lindsay, but one boy to 5 sons, like it took there was a lot. We had to really work on communication. And so I think that year of us dating long distance helped solidify that we're pretty good at communicating. And that's something I think in every relationship, friendship, relationship you need. So yeah, that's the short condensed version.
Yeah, I love that. So I think like going even further back before you guys even met on the last episode, you talked about how you really both didn't really plan on going into education. So did y'all have a vision of really where you were thinking you were going? I know, Mom, you were kind of Walmart and then Goodwill and then things with Papa. So I think, and then Dad, you were in the Navy, of course. And so I think like, did you have a vision for where your life would go before even thinking about, especially Dad thinking about like, that's your immediate family business? Did you even think about sticking it out with Grammy, or did you have a different vision?
Well, in terms of where I thought my life was going, I thought I was going to be in the Navy.
For a career,
long term. So education generally, and Montessori specifically, that came on kind of later in life. It came on after I had my kids, and so it was a very learned thing as opposed to something that I always wanted to do. So it definitely has been a change for me. And now in hindsight, I'm so glad that I did make that change. And life can be like that. Life can throw you curveballs that you have no idea what your life's going to be like in another 10 years or 15 years. Obviously, as Jackie referred to, is my multiple sclerosis, and that situation was not on the radar screen at all when I started working at the school. It was just not even something that I even considered until many years later. So the Navy basically wouldn't have worked out. A lot of things wouldn't have worked out. A lot of things have become possible because we're in the family business of education.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead, honey.
I was gonna say before we kind of go into like, Mom, like your kind of interest in education, like how was like we'll call it week 1 with Grammy? Like what was that integration of you going into working with Grammy and kind of you essentially taking over the schools?
At this point, yes. So little bit of background. I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. No, I'm kidding. But I do think that if you look at this in a God way, God was everything that I did or everything that I had interest in prepared me for the schools, for having lots of boys, for having a husband that was going to have a disability. I mean, I could look at it that way. I was never that person that thought, oh, I want to do this when I get older. I didn't. Like, I like a lot of things. I like to do a lot of things. I like to try a lot of things. I know when I was in high school, a lot of my friends were going the route of teaching. This is funny to say that, and I think God has a sense of humor. I didn't want to be around kids. Nana, my mom, Nana. Nana did not work when I was little. She stayed at home till I think I was in kinder, and then she went back, or she went to school at a cute little school outside of kind of like San Antonio by Shirts called St. Monica's. And she was, if I remember correctly, their after school teacher. Nana always loved kids. Nana just, that came very natural for her. It did not for me. Like well, it came naturally for me, but I didn't see it as a career. Like I didn't see that that's, what I want to do. God has a funny sense of humor because I also thought I never really wanted kids. I had kind of I mean, like everybody, I had, there's drama going on when I was growing up. And so I just didn't think I'd be a very good mom. I didn't. Like I said, God has a very funny sense of humor because I was married before and had the pleasure of, meeting your half sister, Lindsay. And then I had you, and I thought I was done. Thought, that's it. I'm done. I don't want to, got divorced. And then God said, watch this, and gave me 4 more boys and a school, several schools.
Several.
I have now 20 years. I'm 52 yesterday, had a birthday. Now looking back, I have always supposed to been around kids. I was. I think it is something that's very near and dear to my heart. I love kids. I can't wait to have grandbabies from the boys. It's something that just means a lot. So when I married Dad, I will be honest, I said, oh, that's great. Y'all have a cute little family business. That's awesome. Let me know if you need anything, because I'm going to be at home just taking care of this gaggle of boys. I think Dad felt sorry for me because I was at home and y'all all went to school, and I didn't have a whole lot to do. You could clean the house only so many times. And Dad saw that I was very organized. And so I remember one day he brought home I don't think he remembers.
I don't remember this.
He brought home his desk drawer from the office and said, hey, you looking for something? Could you organize this for me?
I am not very organized.
I was like, sure, organized it, sent him back to work with it. And then it just kind of slowly morphed into, hey, would you come in and you could make some copies? Or, hey, would you come in and do? So the beginning, like probably first 6 months, I came in and was just kind of doing office stuff. Like I wasn't even answering the phones at that point. Because I had no idea what Montessori, what is I had no idea even what Montessori was. I'll be honest. I thought it was a religion at some point.
Well, it is.
Well, it is
in a way.
In a way, it's a way of living. So I think working with Grammy, she was intimidating. I mean, here was this woman that I've said this in the last episode, pioneer. I mean, capable, smart, funny, well put together. And here I am, a hot mess, trying to keep 5 boys just clean. I mean, it was kind of crazy. So I kind of stayed out of the way. I really didn't I didn't know what I was doing. So I just felt what's the best way to do things, to do what I'm good at. And I'm good at talking to people. I'm good at helping, being behind the scenes. I will still say that I like to be behind the scenes a lot of times. But yeah,
it said, in spite of the fact that you're sitting here doing the podcast.
But I think to answer your question, it was intimidating. It wasn't until I think I really started watching Grammy and hearing her and her trying to tell me little bits about Montessori that then I was sold. And looking back, Why wasn't I taught this way? Because I was that child that I'm smart. I definitely A's, B's, like but I had to work for those. I didn't like school. I thought it was a waste of time. Like, put me outside. Like, it just wasn't my way of learning. And so looking back now, two things. I think Nana did some things that were Montessori that she doesn't realize she did. And second, I would have thrived in a Montessori classroom. And so I just, at that point, I just started pulling things from Grammy. Just teach me, tell me kind of thing. But the beginning, no, I was very intimidated by her. She scared me a little, I'll admit. Plus, I was taking on her, her son. So, yeah, long-winded story.
Yeah, but I think it's important you kind of touched on that because I think like obviously I think Dad grew up with more knowledge of it just because of Grammy and pioneering that. But I think like you kind of touched on it, you really didn't probably know too much about Montessori, and so Grammy really guided you into that and was able to educate you. And you've obviously gone through at this point now, looking back, so many classes and educations and certifications that you now have.
Yes.
So kind of into the next question, it really flows nicely of like, why do you believe so much in Montessori that we chose to do this for the last 20 years? In the sense that I feel like also, why have you, there's a passion I see behind you and Dad, and I think like you wouldn't have that passion if it wasn't for your true belief in the schools and the what you're giving to the community and what you're giving to the children that are coming into the schools. So what is that in you, I feel like, that maybe others could gain from, to know that it's not just a private school, it's so much more that we're doing?
Well, I'll do my answer because I'm sure Mom's is a little lengthier. But but what I think specifically is these days there's so many, and I talked about this on the last episode also. There's so many educational options out there, and that their parents are just bombarded with, we should do this or should we do that, or their neighbors are doing this, or the Joneses are doing that. And so parents are just bombarded with that daily. And so it's very hard to find what is the best way to educate your children. So in my mind, and I will tell this to parents when I give tours for prospective parents and that sort of thing, I will tell parents that if you homeschooled your children, if you're able to homeschool your children, what we do here is probably most like what you would do at home. Now, some parents don't have the luxury of homeschooling, or they don't have the ability to stay home, or they may work a certain job, or both parents. We have a lot of parents, families in the military. A lot of grandparents are involved. But ultimately, the way we do it, we want to be most like what the parents would do if they could homeschool their children. That's how it feels to me, is that you feel like it's just an extension of home.
Right. Right. And I would agree. And that is something that in a book, one of the books that talked about Maria Montessori, that her big thing was the house should feel like, or excuse me, the school should feel like the house. And it makes sense because some of these children spend a long day with us. I mean, we do offer before school care and after school care, but same thing like Dad was saying, when I do a tour, I want them to feel that we are a family, that you can text me and say anything you want to talk. I am available, even though we own the schools. I base out of Coronado, Dad bases out of Sunset. We are there. That is something that this is a lifelong commitment kind of that we're giving to the parents. For example, this kind of sums it up the best way for me. When I moved up to our Coronado school, and I took over that location about 16 years ago, maybe. I had a little girl that was in the class that was 18 months, and I won't say her name, but super sweet. And I was just getting to know this family. They ended up having another little girl. The first daughter went all the way up through third. We actually extended to fourth just for her, because, she was smart, sweet, kind, but just a little shy. And so we wanted to love on her a little bit longer before she went out to the big the big pond. You know, fast forward, they have another little girl. She stays with us the whole time. I have shared some of my, I'm an open book. I've told you that. You can ask me anything, I'll tell you anything, because God has used experiences in my life to share with other people, and so that I am more relatable to other people. And that's what I believe. And so I had been talking to the dad over the summer about some things with the older daughter, and he was sharing with me some things she was going through. And out of the blue on Sunday, the mom reached out to me and said, you know, there's some stuff that's gone on with this young lady. And my husband shared that you may share a similar story when you were growing up. Would you mind if you reached out to her? Would you mind checking in with her? I know this is weird. I don't even know if I should be asking this of you. I'm gonna cry. But I'm just a mom that needs to help, and I don't know how else to do it except with my village, my people, my who knows us. And I did, and I said, of course, I have no problem. Send me her number. We're trying to figure out how to do that. But I reached out to her and I just said, hey, you know, how are you doing? It's just being able to, the world is so complicated right now, and there's so much bad, but I choose to think that the good outweighs the bad. And you just like, if we can provide that for families, not only education, like education, I would have been a perfect Montessori child. I think all of you boys at some level gained something from the philosophy, from the way of teaching, from that whole area. But it's more than that. Yeah, education's going to get you far, but being loved and respected and having people that can help encourage and cheerlead and all of that, to me, that if a school can do that, that's a no-brainer for me. So I think, and I think Maria Montessori, that's ultimately what it was about. I mean, she was teaching children that their parents went to school all day. I mean, went to work all day. She was like grandma to them. I mean, she kind of like, you imagine just this lady just taking all these babies in and loving on them and respecting them and hitting them where they're at. And I don't know, it's just, I am very passionate about it, as you can tell. But that's for me. If we can do that for people,
Yeah.
teach, but not just teach how to love well and live well. That is something that I think is very important, not just for
Yeah,
our community, but in general.
I think it's kind of being that mentor out in the world for those kind of people. And I think you've used that word a lot, not only with our family, but I think just like that's really important to you all and in community. Like Maria Montessori kind of talks about is really important. And I think you guys have done a really good job about that. I'm going to bring my personal point of view into it just because I'm so deeply rooted into like company culture, which is big. And so you guys being a family business may be a little different, but at RH, we talk about, we do what we love for people that we love for people who love what we do. And I think that could resonate to really any company that's that passionate and that determined to really do what you're passionate about, but also bring people along on the journey. So I love that. So now the next question may be now loaded after hearing all of that, but I think you've said not only in the last episode, but a lot this episode, your owners, your directors, but I think like, what is your true, I guess you could say title in the business, but I also think like, what does that entail? I know in a family business, you wear all the hats, but what is truly almost your day-to-day look like? What is your role in the business day-to-day?
I have much longer questions. So
again, you have a much longer answer. Well, obviously, again, we talked about my situation personally. I work like a part-time. I am the director of the original location where my mom and dad still live to this day. I'm in charge of that location specifically. And then in terms of the other stuff that I do with the business, more like financial things, you know, the supplies in terms of, you know, in terms of what sort of things. I'm sorry that's distracting me, and I gave a very bad answer there.
Okay, pause.
I'm gonna pause. Sorry. So the short answer is that as the business director, I handle all things like taxes and the payroll and all those financial things, in addition to the regular director duties of the location. So that's kind of my big area, is that if there's anything expansion wise or anything repair wise that needs to be accomplished, any of those sort of arrangements and that sort of thing.
And then mine is kind of said growing up, I like to do a bunch of different things. My official title is I am our executive director. I run the Coronado location. That's where I base out of. And then Grammy is our educational director. So if Grammy needs help with anything, I'm involved with her. I do go down to the Sunset School where Dad is and cover for him one day. I help with payroll. I help with a lot of different things. I think for me, a lot of it is just the overarching picture of, are the schools running well? I hire, I am part of the firing, kind of like all that, but mine is kind of big picture. Like if like the podcast, like how can we get out there? How are we being seen, networking? But I also the details. I'm a detail girl, so the details of how the schools are run is very important to me. Are we doing what Grammy wants us to, being the education director? Are we following through with that? I'm kind of a jack of all trades. I like to have my hands in a little bit of
all trades.
Jackie of all trades. I like to have my hands in a little bit of everything, because it's important to us, and our names are on it. So I want to make sure that what we're giving to the public is what we say, kind of thing.
I think the passion you have to be involved in all facets, because the second you kind of let go of that finger on the pulse, it's like Grammy. I think she's done it for so long, but she's staying relevant to the businesses because she has the passion behind it and wants to be involved and wants to make sure her vision is being fulfilled.
Yes.
So you kind of have to, in that sense.
Exactly.
Agreed. Yeah.
So kind of to wrap it all up, bringing it back to family and the family business, me and brothers all went to the schools at different periods of time. So I went there for the full 5th grade year. What do you think we gained from our experience at the schools? And picking an apple cannot be an answer.
Oh, that story of picking the apple.
Well, for me, I think the positive thing, and I'm not going to say picking the apple, but the what that represents is, the freedom and the independence and being outside and doing outside things and not in just a sterile classroom where you just sit and you go to the next thing. I mean, the animals and the apples and the other fruit trees and all those sorts of things, all of that contribute. The fact that if you needed to, you could, if you weren't feeling good, you could go next door to your grandmother's house and lay down, or as John frequently did, go have breakfast at his grandmother's house and all that sort of thing.
Hi, Meadow.
Meadow is joining us.
Yes, exactly. She has questions. Well, and I can kind of go on both levels with Dad. So definitely from that point of view, the just a different way of learning. I thought it was important because when we got married, you and Jason y'all are 3 months apart. So we let you experience a year of Montessori, and then we had him go to public and to kind of, so y'all could really, in our mind, we thought that way y'all could see how the other one's been going to school, because you went traditional. He grew up in the schools. So I think that was important for us. I think also, though, like Dad said, the way of teaching, that y'all could really, if you needed to take a break, you could go outside. Like, our teachers knew we were both divorced. I mean, so that year and further with Johnny, because Johnny, spent the longest there, being able to knowing what was going on with us personally, to have y'all there with us and giving us just that extra little bit of time to make sure y'all were okay as a second family, a second marriage, not second family, second marriage. That was something like that was really important to us. So I'm so thankful that we got to do that. And we see lots of families that will do that. If something's happening, they will stay with us a little bit longer to kind of, so we can love on everybody. But then I also look at y'all now, of course, after y'all are all out of the house, and y'all are some smart kids. Like, and I'm biased, of course, but the way you all think is so outside of the box, first of all. Second of all, you all are kind and loving and compassionate. And I know that's because of the business. I know that's because of the Montessori schools that we own. You all are go-getters. Like just sitting back as a mom and dad and watching you all, or hearing how your days are going, or just how y'all are handling situations. I am always so proud to know that, wow, okay, what we did, the school, like our foundation, that helped them. Like that gave them confidence and kind of that platform to be able to take on life. And that is something that I think is irreplaceable. I don't think, this sounds horrible because I grew up in a public school, but I don't think nowadays, I think that was crucial for y'all and for our family and for a lot of families nowadays. I think that we were able to guide what y'all were hearing, what we believe, like all of that stuff. I just think our values were very much in line with our schools and with Montessori in general. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's a great place to kind of wrap up kind of my questions.
Yeah. So I'm so happy that we got to do this. So I have a question for you. Just to put you on the spot a little bit. So what was your favorite memory? Because like you said, you did only get to do 1 year at the school, but what was your favorite memory of going to the school or even participating in our family business? Because you went to school for a year there, but you've been dealing with the family business, for Dad and I've been together almost 20 years. So what is something that just sticks out to you?
I think I have a couple answers to that. But I think one thing is definitely like Austin and I were there for a little bit of time, and the way that the classes are set up, I think is so unique. And so even though Austin and I are 3 years apart, you do get to kind of spend time in that same classroom with somebody that's not necessarily in your direct grade. So I think that was just a nice factor in looking back and how Austin and I are a little closer, thinking about that time together was really monumental in that aspect. And then kind of my middle point would be definitely just watching you guys run the schools. I think there's not a lot of family businesses out there nowadays that operate the way you all do and do things the way you do. And I think that's not only from Grammy's starting it, but the way you all continued it. It feels like a new age of the schools that has kind of been revamped. And I think that's always important to kind of have ever like evolving change in a company. And so I think that's been my favorite. And honestly, with my favorite part that I've had is as my friends and coworkers have kids, watching them get to experience not only I have friends in El Paso, and like I think about somebody that I went to high school with that now has one of their kids enrolled in the schools. Like it's fun to watch them now as a parent get to experience that. And it's also fun to hear my friends or coworkers, not only in El Paso, but in Dallas as well, talk about those decisions and really thinking about how I can almost educate them on Montessori because of you guys.
Right.
And guide them in a different light, and maybe that they are balancing a couple different aspects of where they want to send their kids and playing a pivotal role in that.
Right. I love that. I love that, that it's carrying on, not just from Grammy, not just from El Paso, but it's carrying on wherever y'all go. And that to me that's pretty special. So I love seeing that in y'all. Well, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Blakey, for doing that. That does it for today. Don't forget we're going to have these videos up on our YouTube channel, actually. So subscribe so you can get the most up-to-date one that comes. And then until next time, take care and keep listening.
Thank you for listening to Montessori in the Sun City. Don't forget to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen so that you don't miss an episode. To learn more, visit www.eHarmony.com. www.epmontessorischools.com.